Hello, everyone.
Hi, Katie.
Hello.
Just Rod or Suzanne, can you just give me a thumbs up? Can you hear me? Oh, you can. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Can you, Suzanne? Yeah, you can. Okay, good. Yeah, excellent. Just while everyone is just logging in. Thank you, all of you, for being right on time. Very much appreciated. Just let me jot down who is here tonight. I think I'm losing my memory. I think there was someone who couldn't come, but that's okay. They might be running a little bit late anyway. Well, let's get started. Everyone's had a long day, I'm sure. But tonight is session 3 of the life program. So it is very lovely to have you all here again. The sessions come around pretty thick and fast at the beginning with every couple of 2 weeks. Tonight's session is all about physical activity. So you'll hear me sort of say the same things a little bit over and over again. I'm not going to be asking anyone to start running for 60 minutes every single day or doing anything that's totally out of your routine. As you'll hear me say tonight, really just doing any movement is always going to be a whole lot better than doing absolutely nothing. So that's the main message that hopefully you will take from tonight. I am recording because there was, yeah, that's right. It's coming back to me now. There was definitely someone who couldn't attend tonight. So I am recording, but yeah, as you all know, I just share it with the people who are within this group. If you would feel comfortable, I would just like to go around the group as always, just to hear the good, the bad, the ugly, what's been going on the last couple of weeks, just to touch base with you all. So Suzanne, do you mind starting first? You're my top left person tonight.
Thank you. As usual, everything's been very busy. I have had a little bit of a lash out in terms of food, but only because of my birthday.
Oh, that's right.
That's stopped again. Time to get back onto the straight and narrow, so to speak.
Yeah, good on you. Yeah, great. Yeah, you had a lovely birthday, I hope.
I did, thank you. It was very nice.
You've celebrated hard, have you?
Of course.
Yeah, good. Oh, that's lovely. Thanks, Susan. I appreciate that. Rod, how have you been going? What's your 2 weeks look like?
I've been busy. As usual, trucks and to eat the right things, learn looking at labels and
yeah, have you been?
Yeah.
Has anything jumped out at you as a surprise or
last fortnight? Watched the video.
Oh, you did? Yeah, good one.
Workbook and
yeah, excellent. Oh, that's great. When you were looking at labels, was there anything that you were surprised by, or a common food that you tend to eat a lot that you thought, oh, I didn't think?
Yeah, even tonight there was canola spread that I think it was 300 milligrams of sodium or something in it.
Yeah.
No fat, or a bit of about 10 of saturated fat and no sugar or anything like that in it. But
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Generally, if it doesn't have any fat, it's going to have a lot of salt. Like it's generally got to have something because the fat or the salt is the flavor.
Yeah.
It's scary the number of products that have salt in it. And even if you watch people on television who are cooking and they go, and just a pinch of salt, their pinch of salt is actually quite substantial.
Like a fist. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, it is interesting once you start to sort of really look into the food that you're eating and the food that you like to eat. Yeah, I mean, and again, it's not to put any fear around any particular foods. It's really just to be educated in the area so then you can make an informed decision when you are, at the supermarket or at the servo or, wherever you may be. So that's great. But I'm glad that you're starting to look a little bit at those labels. Georgie, how about you? How have you been going?
Yeah, good. I'm really boring what I eat. I haven't really been out much. And for me, usually the big issue is going out. So I've just kind of been keeping a low profile at the moment. So
So you're just not leaving the house is your main.
Oh, no, going out, but just
Oh,
not really
good.
drinking and like just
Yeah,
being
nice.
more cautious about my food choices.
Yeah,
when
great.
I'm
That's good.
out. So, but it is hard when you've got celebrations. Like it's really hard, and people expect you to eat and drink, and it's
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That's good though. So you don't feel as though you're depriving yourself as such.
No,
It's just
no,
more
not
that
at
you're
all.
just a bit more aware of what you are
Yeah,
doing and saying yes to.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good on you. Well, that's good. I'm glad that I hope that you don't feel like you're missing out, but it's good that you are actually, being a bit more mindful about those things. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. How about you, Rose? What's been happening?
Yeah, going good.
Yeah.
I've just stepped off the tennis court after an hour and a half. So, yeah.
That's a great start. Good on you for the week.
Yes. I'll be trying.
And your food?
Food, yeah, look, there's been celebrations. I've just made sure I've made the right choices. And if I've made the wrong choices, it hasn't been a large serving.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
might
excellent.
have been a taste. The scales are saying that something's happening. So, yeah, everything's positive here at the minute.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad. That's a good start to your week again then, though. That's great. Thanks, Rose. Good on you. Lydia, how about you?
Yeah, I try to include more vegetables and fiber and beans in my meals. And
Very
I try
good.
try to make sure every week I have I cook a dish with vegetables like vegetable stew and add some beans inside, and which is good. I have that with or without proteins.
Yep.
And it's so much more filling than my food before, my cooking.
Yeah, wonderful.
And I'm not sure, I didn't weigh myself to see if I lost any weight, but I definitely feel much lighter now.
Yeah. That's wonderful. I'm really thrilled to hear that. And I think you make a really good point, because I think we tend to really look at and focus on what we can take out of our diet. So, I'm going to restrict my consumption of X, Y, and Z, but I think you make a really good point around, let's also not forget what we can add into our diet, because it's also about the nutritional quality of what we are eating. And just like you've identified, you don't feel as though you're hungry or you're missing out. You're simply just eating a wider variety of foods and more fiber. And as a result, you're feeling fuller.
Yes. And
so
I
that's
didn't
great.
feel the need to add more food. I can also have my smaller portions now. And it's very good. Yeah,
absolutely. And your bowels will be feeling a lot better as well, I'm sure, because they always love all the fiber. So that's great, Lydia. That's a really great assessment of your last couple of weeks. Good on you. Thank you. And finally, Beck, how are you?
Hello. I'm sick again, which is great.
Oh, Beck, you've had a bad run.
I have. So there's been a little bit of comfort food eating this week. Even though, it's just I'm just trying to make myself feel better.
Oh no. You just can't race these things, unfortunately, can you?
Yeah. So I mean, I have been reading the food labels of the
good
jar of Lotus Biscoff spread. Oh yes.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're reading it as you're eating it with a spoon. That's good.
Yeah.
No, when you are sick, it really is a different thing. You do just need to be conscious about giving your body what it does feel like and need. You don't want to be doing too much when you're not feeling well. But hopefully the next time we chat, you'll be on the mend and feeling 100% again.
Yeah, I'm a bit over this.
I know. But it's a really important time too for you to be increasing your fruit and veggies, because obviously immunity, all of those things, it's not just made up.
Yeah,
it is very true. So make sure you're having lots of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good on you. Thanks, Beck. Okay, so thank you everybody for sharing all of that. Let's get started for tonight. So then you can all go back to enjoying your What are we? Monday night. Goodness, it already feels like it's been a long week. Okay, so here we are. Now, as always, I can't see you all. So if you do have a question, please just yell out or pop it into the chat box, okay? So tonight, session 3 is all things physical activity. So tonight we'll go through the benefits of being physically active, the importance of being active, even if you're only just starting. I mean, even, you know, if you haven't just stepped off the tennis court like Rose tonight, that's absolutely fine. Even if we're just doing a little bit of exercise each week, some of you might be doing lots of exercise each week. It doesn't really matter, but we're just looking at how much and the frequency. And if you are just starting out, that is fine as well. It's perfectly fine. But also on the flip side, trying to reduce the amount of time that you are actually sitting. That's also another big part of the, you know, for a lot of people, it's not just how active they are, it's also how long of the day they're actually sitting for. What are some of the barriers to physical activity? And then also ideas for setting physical activity goals. As always, we're working towards decreasing the amount of particularly saturated and trans fats that we're eating. We're increasing the amount of fiber that we're eating, just like Lydia has spoken about, decreasing the amount of sodium, just like Rod was saying, he's looking at his labels, increasing the amount of physical activity we're doing. And if weight loss is something that you're working towards, then if all those things are happening, ideally, there'll be a little bit of weight loss as well. Okay, so being active, even if you are just starting, most importantly, one of the most wonderful things that physical activity does for us is that it reduces our risk of type 2 diabetes. So aside from any weight loss or anything like that, simply being a little bit active on most days absolutely will help to reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes, along with heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, particular types of cancers, high cholesterol, all the things that we're trying to avoid. But also really importantly, as we age, regular physical activity really helps to build and maintain your skeleton, so your bones. Also helps to keep your muscles and your joints nice and limber and sort of moving freely and feeling more comfortable, as well decreasing the risk of injury. And not to mention, physical activity is incredibly important for our mental health and our sort of psychosocial well-being. So it's not just about what it does for our physical body, but it's also about what it does for our mind and how we're feeling about ourselves. So many benefits. You guys have all been around long enough to know a lot of these benefits anyway, but along with a healthy diet, absolutely physical activity helps to reduce our risk of obesity, our waist circumference. It will also reduce our blood pressure. It will also reduce our serum triglycerides, a different type of fatty acid in our blood, and it will also help to improve our HDL cholesterol. So your cholesterol is basically a ratio of good to bad. So we want our LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, to be nice and low, and we want the HDL cholesterol, the good cholesterol, to be nice and high. So having a regular physical activity routine helps to keep our HDL cholesterol high, which is really important for heart health. So ideally, how much should we be doing each and every? So what the physical activity and sedentary behaviour guidelines for Australians says that first and foremost, absolutely doing any physical activity is better than doing absolutely none. Okay, so you can read these numbers and things, but also just keeping in mind that anything is better than nothing. Being active on most days is ideal as well, preferably all days of the week. But I mean, we all know that this isn't always possible. We're incredibly busy people. So it's not always possible. If you can fit it in every day of the week, fantastic, wonderful. If you're a numbers person, ideally we're looking for 2.5 to 5 hours of moderate intensity exercise per week. So, I mean, that looks something like anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes of exercise, 5 to 7 days a week. That's ideal, okay, of moderate intensity. So moderate intensity, if you recall, is like a brisk walk. Alternatively, If you're doing vigorous intensity exercise, you can reduce the amount of time of which you're doing it, because you're obviously getting your heart rate up higher and you're sort of working harder. So 1.25 to 2.5 hours of vigorous intensity exercise each and every week. And then also making sure that you're getting your muscle strengthening activities in at least 2 days. So for me personally, because like everybody, I'm incredibly busy with children and work and all the things. So that is absolutely me. I get to the gym and I will do a couple of group fitness classes each week, but I make sure that they're the most vigorous intensity sessions that I can do, because I really, if I can get to 2 classes each week, that's a good week for me. So because I just don't have any time, I do try to get more of the vigorous intensity exercise in each week. But for somebody else that might have a little bit more time in their days, then having a brisk walk on most days than not. Like my mum, that's what my mum would do. She always will have sort of a 30 to 45 minute walk with a friend or with my dad or something. And they will do that most days of the week because, you know, they have a bit more time now. So it really needs to be a personal thing. What's going to work best for you? What's something that you enjoy and that you're most likely to do? The other side of the coin is the sedentary behavior. So we're really looking at also not just the amount of physical activity that you're doing, but also minimizing the amount of time that you're actually sitting and not moving. So we really want to be trying to break up long periods of sitting as often as possible. And it simply might be that you're at work and you want to stand up and just go to the walk to the printer, or walk outside and just do a lap around the office. Doing something, you don't have to go for a run, but it's just getting up and physically moving out of your seat is the most important thing. So just like I mentioned before, the intensity of your physical activity is really, really important. So low, moderate, and vigorous. So the way that we sort of like to sort of decide what intensity exercise you're actually doing. Low intensity, you've sort of pretty much just at rest. So you can talk, you can sing if you had to, your breathing is very much so normal. Moderate intensity, so now we're sort of walking at a brisk pace. You can talk, but you probably couldn't break into song if you really had to. And then vigorous intensity is you're really gasping for that air. You're sucking in lots and lots of air. You're really struggling to sort of hold a conversation, and you're having to sort of take in those big gulps of air. So in terms of working out what your intensity exercise is like, that's the talk and sing test is quite a nice way just to sort of work out exactly what intensity exercise you are participating in. Now, muscle strengthening. I tend to find that most of the time, I shouldn't say most of the time, but cardiovascular activity, so things like walking, running, riding, you know, swimming, etc., they seem to be the ones, the exercises that most people are sort of able to get into their weeks. However, what is just as important, and you might remember from the guidelines I just talked to you about, is the strength training. So this is something, so strength training or resistance training, and it's basically another type of physical activity that makes your muscles work against a weight or a force. And we absolutely recommend that all Australian adults are doing at least sort of 2 sessions of this per week. Now, you don't have to go to the gym and go and lift huge, big, massive weights and be dragging big barbells around the joint. That's absolutely not what you need to do. You can build up muscle strength by simply using your own body weight. So that might be through lunges, or by squatting, or by doing push-ups on the wall even, or on the floor. Also using resistance bands. For those that may already have a set of resistance bands at home, they're just like big elastic rubber bands basically, but they provide a force for your muscles to work against. So they're really cheap and really easy, and there's sort of it's not like a big sort of, you know, walking machine or something that takes up a lot of space. Resistance bands are easy. They can go into your bag. And then of course you can go to the gym and use weight machines, or you might have some of your own at home, but it's really important to really try to, yes, get that walking in, the running in if you like to, but trying to also prioritize a couple of muscle strengthening sessions per week. is really important. Now, I just want to actually, I just want to show this video. I'm just going to play this video for you. It's by the British Heart Foundation, and it just is a really nice introduction to resistance bands. Apologies for those of you that may already know resistance bands really easily, but I just like the way they show these few nice examples. Okay.
Nothing's happening, Katie, on my end.
Oh, why is that? Are you not seeing that?
No.
Me neither.
Wonder why.
Me neither.
You were just sitting there watching me watch the video.
Yes.
That would have been fun. Oh, I might just have to share that with you then. Can you see that screen?
No.
No, you can't see the
No.
YouTube screen.
No.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Why do I need to sit less?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I wonder why it won't let me share the internet. But that's fine. Well, rather than you guys sitting there watching me watch the resistance band video, I will send you that link, because it is just a nice, it's only 3 or 4 minutes, but it just gives you a really nice snapshot of some easy resistant bands exercises for you to do at home. I know at Aldi, they have resistance bands there all the time, and they're really cheap. So if it's not something that you already do have, you can definitely go to Aldi and go and get some, because they're just very easy. They just fit into your bag. You can take them anywhere, and they're just to provide that little bit of option just to do some resistance training. Now, when we talk about resistance training, let me go back. It is just really important that when we're talking about resistance training, you don't have to do sort of hours and hours of it. So it's not something that you need to sort of sit and slog out 150 lunges or 200 push-ups. You can just simply you might choose a lunge, a squat, and a push-up, and you might just do 3 sets of 10 of each, and you might just do it in the ad breaks of TV, or you might just do, you might do 10 lunges in the morning, and then 10 lunges at lunchtime, and then 10 lunges in the afternoon. It doesn't matter how you sort of break it up or how and when you do it. You might do it just when you're doing your teeth. You can really build it into your own day. So please don't think as though you've got to put aside 45 minutes 2 times a week for a strength session. It really needs to fit in with your lifestyle. And I can't stress that enough about physical activity, because if it's not fitting into your lifestyle, and if you're not sort of enjoying it, you just won't do it. So I think that's almost the most important piece of physical activity, is that there's simply no point in me sitting here and saying, go and become a triathlete and go and do 6 hours of bike riding every single week if you hate bike riding. If you love bike riding, fantastic, that would be wonderful. But if you're somebody that can't stand being on a bike, then that's not the right exercise for you, of course. But we want you to be doing something that you actually enjoy and that you're more likely to stick with, okay? So again, with strength-based activity, it doesn't need to go for hours and hours. It simply might be, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, just when you've got the time to do it. But I will send you that link now that my internet's not connecting properly. Resistance. Okay, so why do I need to sit less? As with everything really these days, but sitting too much has been absolutely linked with things like obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. We just know that if you are sitting and sitting and sitting, that it is not good for your long-term health outcomes. And with most of the work days that Australians tend to work, generally we're sitting for about 9 hours per day. And as you can see here, it's incredibly easy to clock up those 9 hours. And just to provide one of those scary statistics that public health always likes to do, but if you are sitting for more than 11 hours a day, it does tend to show that that your risk of early death is significantly higher than of someone who would be sitting for less than 8 hours a day. So it is something that we do need to take into consideration and think really clearly about, because sitting is very easy to do, and it can, I know personally, I'm sitting at my desk and I'll suddenly get to 1 p.m. and I think I've been sitting for hours. I really need to get up and move. So it happens very easily, but we just need to be much more aware of it. So this little wheel here is just a nice little diagram showing, how quickly we can clock up those hours. So if you're somebody that drives to work, or you might go on the train or the bus or however you get to work, and then you sit and work, and then you go and sit and you have your lunch, and then you go and sit again for the afternoon, and then you need to commute home, and then you get home, and then you sit down to have dinner, and then you sit and relax, because you're tired from your day of work, and then suddenly it's bedtime and you think, I haven't stood much at all today, so it does happen very, very easily. So if that's a pretty good indicator of what your day looks like, then yes, let's start looking at how we can start to break up the day. I think physical activity is one of those things where we all feel as though the barriers are really difficult. There's so many reasons not to do physical activity. However, the absolute one main reason of why we should be exercising regularly is simply to try and live a much longer life. So all of the barriers are there and they exist, but they're just not strong enough for the reason as to why we should be exercising regularly. We all want to live a long, healthy life. We don't want to be a burden to our partner. We don't want to end up with long-term diseases. We want to live long and we want to live well. So all these barriers that tend to come into it, absolutely, I appreciate it. I don't ever feel like exercising. I'm always too tired, but I always feel so much better when I do it. So some of the barriers that you might relate to, number one, I'm too busy. That goes without saying. We are all busy and we can all find way more things to do other than exercise. It's too expensive. If you are going to a gym, I've got lots of friends who have a gym membership but never go. So, I mean, that's expensive. Absolutely. You're not getting anything out of it. But we all know that you can go for a walk for free. So you don't have to have a gym membership. I don't have anyone to go with. Some people really like to exercise with others. Some people just like to have that downtime by themselves. So find a friend. If it's something that you think might help you remain consistent and stick with it, find someone to go with. Drag your neighbor, drag the person from the shop, drag your partner, somebody with you if that's what you like to do. I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too tired. These are all things that, we can all feel, but the one thing that's going to counteract those things is by actually going out there and doing the exercise. You might feel tired when you start, but you won't feel tired by the time you come home. The weather is too hot, too cold, raining. I mean, there's lots of different things we can do inside if those are the conditions outside, just like we spoke about the resistance bands. So you can definitely be doing that. Bit busy with family, absolutely. But then I quite like going to the gym because it gets me away from my family when I need a bit of a break. So that one doesn't really apply to me. But if you're a much better mother than I am and like being with your family all the time, then yes, but absolutely, you're a much better person towards your family when you're feeling good about yourself. So it's still important to prioritize what you like to do. I don't actually feel like it. I'm in a bad mood. Well, we know that exercise is really good for your mental health. So one of the best things you can do when you're in a bad mood is actually go and do some exercise. It's too hard to change, and it is. Change feels hard. I completely appreciate that one. It can feel too hard, but you don't have to do it all in one day. You don't have to overhaul your entire diet. You don't have to start training for a marathon. It doesn't have to be that big and that hard. You just need to do small little steps. If yesterday you did no exercise, well, today you might have a go at doing some of the resistance exercises. You might do a couple of sets of a few lunges. Something, but just anything, the tiniest little step can be really, really significant. And I'm sure there are so many other barriers as to why people don't feel like exercising. But just like I said before, I don't wake up every morning at 5:30 when I've got to go to the gym and think, oh yes, I love going to the gym when it's freezing and dark and, you know, all of those other things. But I always feel so much better for the rest of the day. And it really does. It changes my outlook for the rest of the day. I feel really proud of myself for fitting it in. I feel better. I feel like my body works better that day. So although I don't feel like it, it is always really worth it. So you won't feel like it either, but you will always feel really good once you've done it. But I think it's really important to identify what the barrier is for you. Which one of those barriers really speaks to you and it feels close to your own self. And think about it. Try and break it down. Try and come up with some sort of sentences that you can say to yourself when you're coming up to your time to exercise, and think, okay, I tend to not want to go because of X, Y, and Z. What can I do to combat that this time? And a lot of the time, it's just really important not to think about it. Just get your runners on and go. Don't sit and and ah about it and worry about the weather and worry about what's going to happen later and et cetera, et cetera. Just go and get it done. Stop talking yourself out of it. Just like I said before around doing something that you enjoy. I think this is the most important thing. There is no point doing exercise that you hate, because you just will not do it. So these are some sort of ideas that may be of interest to you, but some examples of how to get your moderate physical activity in: doing your brisk walking, going for a swim, doing tennis, as Rose has already done tonight. Vigorous intensity, so that's where we're more so looking at, we're running, we're starting to jog, we might be doing some faster cycling, or like team sports, perhaps you're playing netball or football or something like that. So that's where your vigorous intensity exercise might lie. Looking at your strength-based activities, so a couple of times a week, perhaps you've got a couple of dumbbells at home, so you can do a few exercises at home. Again, your resistance bands, you can be using those. And strength training can also look like parking your car further away from the supermarket and carrying your larger bags back to the car a bit further, looking at how can I sort of get a little bit more exercise into my day with my normal, day-to-day jobs. So looking at how you can, it doesn't have to necessarily look like a typical strength-based session. You can simply just be trying to be more sort of athletic in your day-to-day life. And really important too is flexibility and balance. So doing your stretching, just hopping on the floor when you're watching TV at nighttime and doing a few stretches, or going to a yoga or Pilates class, or maybe some light dancing lessons. I mean, this stuff, is so important for our muscles and our lean muscle mass and our skeleton and things. So looking at how you can try and keep the exercise a little bit interesting, keep it a bit fun, and just make sure that it's things that you like, that you can fit into your day-to-day life. As always with goal setting, it's just really important that we be really specific. Just like I sort of have mentioned before, there's no point in you suddenly waking up tomorrow morning and deciding that you're going to go and run a marathon if you've never gone for a run before. It's an unrealistic goal, and it's very unlikely that you will have any success. So we need to be really specific around what can I achieve, what's likely going to give me some success, so then I can build upon that. So when it comes to exercise, we want that exercise scheduled in as though it's your GP appointment. We want it to be booked in where it's a non-negotiable. So be really specific about it. If you can only fit in some exercise from 1 p.m. till 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, then that's when it has to happen. And that's when you need to get it in and lock it in and just get it done. So be really clear. I am going to go on 3 30-minute walks each and every week. And those walks are going to happen at 6 a.m. on a Monday and a Wednesday and a Friday, because those are the days that I have a bit more time before work, or whatever it might be. Look at your week in its entirety and find the spots in which you can do exercise and lock it in. But be really specific. Don't just sort of, say, I'm going to go for a run this week at some point, because as we know, the weeks fly by and very quickly a whole week's gone and you've done nothing. Thinking about, these are just this is also in your workbook. So absolutely have a look at session 3 in your workbook. But this is just sort of a bit of a thinking about your day-to-day life. So, did you try to do at least 30 minutes of exercise each day? Where possible, did you take stairs? Did you park your car a bit further away? If you can, could you walk to the shops rather than driving? What was your breathing doing when you were exercising? Were you really puffed, or was it quite more sort of breathing as I normally do? Start to think more about the intensity of the exercise that you are doing. But there's a couple of questionnaires in session 3 in your workbook, so definitely worth having a look at that, just to sort of get your mind thinking about what kind of exercise do I tend to do each week, if any at all. Don't worry about the food diary because you guys have already done that. But yes, so wrapping up, tonight is a bit of a shorter session. I should have said that. But basically, planning is always going to help you reach your goals, whether it's healthy eating, whether it's physical activity. The planning is really important and makes it much more likely that you will succeed. You don't have to be super young and super fit and super healthy in order to be physically active. It doesn't matter what it looks like for you. It's just about doing it. So, for some people, going out and buying a new workout t-shirt is really motivating. So perhaps you could do that. Perhaps it is buying a new pair of runners, or it's getting something that makes you feel a bit more motivated. But you also don't have to have all the gear to get it done. So, you don't have to be glamorous to exercise. You can just get any old thing on and just hit the path. Everyone benefits from doing something, as I've said a few times tonight. It doesn't matter what it is, but just doing something is always going to be better than nothing. And trying to incorporate it into your everyday lifestyle can be really helpful, just to try and embed those small changes. Again, we don't want anyone suddenly trying to do a marathon. It's simply about, what can I do today that is better or more than I did yesterday, no matter how small it is. So starting to think about that. Don't worry about that. And yes, in session 3, there are some readings, which is just going to help really solidify the stuff that we've been talking about tonight too. So those are just some, articles which are in session 3 of your workbooks. These are just some suggestions for local places to get physically active. And I just have tried to find things that would sort of apply across all local government areas within Victoria, because obviously you all come from very different areas. But Parkrun is something that is so popular now, and it happens every single Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Shepparton's got a really, really big one. I know that they're in lots of different council areas now. So even if you just Google Parkrun, you will be able to see where the closest one to your house is. But if you haven't seen it before, it's just a 5K walk, run. You can do it with your kids in a pram. You can do it with a dog. You can walk it. You can sprint it. You can do it however you like. But it's just that keeping you committed and accountable. It's that every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. It's a nice community event. And there's always lots of people involved. So that's a really, really good one. The Live Life Get Active program is a free program that's provided by the government. Depending on your area, they provide sort of like group fitness classes, but outdoors. So it is obviously a bit cooler at the moment, but it's definitely worth having a look at, because I know specifically in Shepparton, they were running sessions in one of our outdoor spaces. So they are definitely out and about there, but it's just a matter of where they are and whether they're close to you or not. The Heart Foundation has walking groups. So absolutely, if you're somebody that really likes to walk with people, but perhaps you don't have somebody that you think might like to join in, that's a wonderful way to do it. Join a walking group, join with other people who are already enjoying working. And then for some of us, maybe you like going to a gym, or, having a personal trainer to keep you accountable. So there's all types of programs out there. These are just a few. This is a bit of a snapshot of a few different options, but there's something for everyone. And I really believe that no one has enough excuses not to do any exercise. We're all really, really busy. It's just a matter of what you want to prioritize, basically. So the next session will be on Monday, the 29th of May. So that's in 2 more weeks. And that will be our session 4, which will be all things well-being. And basically what that means is after that session, we will then have not quite 6 months. What will it be? About a 3-month gap. So we do our first 4 sessions every 2 weeks, and then we come together again at the 6-month mark, and then again at the 12-month mark. So we'll catch up again in 2 weeks' time, and then you'll have a bit of a break before having to see me again. So,
Katie, one of the things that's not on the list there, that you can get a care plan from your doctor.
Yes, tell me.
If you're going to see an exercise physiologist.
Yes.
And you get 5 subsidized sessions with somebody.
Yeah, good one.
And you pay nominal amount of $29. And I'm using an exercise physiologist this year. So I'm doing it on the basis that he shows me what I have to do. And then I see him 2 months later. He corrects the mistakes I'm doing and then gives me something else to do. So I've got more variety.
Yeah, fantastic. And have you been enjoying that?
Oh, yes. It makes a real difference because you've got somebody that you have to be accountable to.
Yes, that's right. And a skilled person showing you how to do the exercises carefully, properly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely going to add that to my list because I had neglected that one. That's a really, really good one. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And there was one other thing. Yeah. You had a slide at the beginning of your when you were talking, and it showed arrows of things that were up
that
or
decrease.
Down. Yeah, it's not in the book, but it's a really good slide. Would you be able to send that to me?
Yeah, definitely. Yep, absolutely. I'll send the resistance band link and also the arrow slide. Yep, sure thing. No worries, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? There's no silly questions.
I had a question, what you said, Suzanne, about physiologist, exercise physiologist. Is that care program, care plan only for people with diabetes, or is it for general public? Do you know?
Suzanne, you're just,
It is something that you need to ask your doctor about, but if your doctor is supportive of your good health and well-being, there's no real reason, I don't think, that they wouldn't support you with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's any parameters that you need to yes, and I think the fact that, I'm just trying to get the info. But I don't think you need to prove that you've actually got any sort of lifestyle related disease or anything. I think it's more just about you're wanting to sort of,
thank you.
Exercise more and learn more. So yes, make an appointment. And I think the fact that you're doing the life program, it's so complementary too. So I think that's also an important one to mention to your GP. Sorry, Suzanne.
I'd just be really surprised if a GP didn't support that.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I mean, we go there with problems, but we like to be able to go away and know some action that we can take to help ourselves.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, preventative health is where we should be putting all of our efforts. So I absolutely agree. I think all sensible GPs would be very willing to be supportive of that. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you for sharing that, Suzanne. That's great. I appreciate that. Any other questions or anything, anybody? All okay? Well, I will do my best to share. Oh, sorry, Rose. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, no, all good here.
All good? Okay, excellent. But yes, I will share those few things and and as always, send me an email if you have any questions, but I will, absolutely look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time anyway. All righty.
Thank you, Katie. Have a good
Thank
week.
you, everyone.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
See you
Thank
in
See
a
you,
week.
crew. See you in 2
Good night,
weeks.
everyone.
Bye.
See you. Bye.